Hello and welcome to the Six Star Business Podcast, where we have conversations about what it takes to do things differently in business. That is, going beyond the status quo. What does it take to be extraordinary rather than ordinary? And not only becoming extraordinary, but being in business for a meaning, for a purpose, for a reason, and not just making money. I'm always fascinated by the decisions people make, what drives them, what motivates them, and listening to their journeys and seeing the influences and the motivations that they've had along the way that's brought them to where they are today. It's one of the things I love about this podcast and meeting so many different people. And in this conversation, I learnt more about this lady that I've ever learnt before, and yet I've known her for a year and a half. She's one of the co-authors of the Six Star Business book. She turns up to a lot of the events we have online, and we know each other, we like each other, and I learnt more about her today. What I learnt was what drives her and motivates her, and I love that she is so passionate about life. She's a global citizen in her own words. She's a very successful ex-corporate employee, manager, executive, and I learned about what drove her to jump into the unknown, into entrepreneurship at the start of COVID and join her business partner, Angela, in their current business. She talks about the journey she was on from a child and the influence of her parents and their entrepreneur life and how that influenced her. I know that human nature doesn't like to be uncomfortable, and yet Cristina defies that because she actually says she likes to be uncomfortable, and she wants that because she knows that's where she's going to grow and learn. Well, it's not the case for me. I think most of my life I've been so uncomfortable I've just tried to run away from it, and yet she inspires me to be more like her, and I really, really love this conversation. She's an inspiration, so I invite you to enjoy this one with Cristina Castro. Hello, here we are. It's another episode of the Six Star Business Podcast, and I am here with my guest, Cristina Castro. I am so excited to have you on as my guest today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's been so exciting. I love doing these things with you. So anytime you say jump on, you've got me.
And because of that eagerness and that optimism, the conversations are always so interesting and flavoursome. So I think, I'm excited about what comes from this conversation and to hear more about you. So how about we get started? I've got some questions for you, and it's really for the benefit of our listeners to get to know you. Could you tell us where you are in the world and maybe where you're based? That might be interesting. Who you serve, how you serve them, and maybe something you like to do when you're not busy serving people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I consider myself a global citizen, and where I'm based often changes with the day, as you well and truly know. Today I'm in London, so it's actually my business partner and best friend's birthday at the moment, and I'm here to stay with her and spend some time with her before I jump on a plane to come back to Australia. Last week I was in Madrid. And 2 weeks before that, I was in Mexico. So I'm definitely someone that loves to see the world. Where am I based? I really consider myself an absolute global citizen. I can't see myself ever settling in one place. I just think the world is such a beautiful place that I just couldn't think of just choosing a one forever place. But, that may change. And I think the business allows me to really do that. They're moving around and helping people. So you asked who we serve, and the best way I like to describe what we do is we help people that are in business become business owners. So that's a change of mindset, and really make it clear what they're offering and making sure they love what they do and make money in the process of loving what they do. Now, what do I do in my spare time? Besides trying to get to see everything that I'm doing while I'm at different places of the world, I love to dance. I actually met my husband dancing. And so we do a lot of this random dancing in the kitchen, or if we can escape somewhere, go out dancing. So I used to teach salsa. My husband does bachata. So anything that I can just get a bit of a wiggle on. And I think my family was saying to me I was doing that from the moment I was able to sit up. I wouldn't say stand, because I think I was wiggling on the dance table as soon as I possibly could. So anything that gets me up and moving and dancing around is what I love to do on spare times. And, the usual, I think, walk with nature, spend time with the animals, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. I just had an image of you dancing in the kitchen, wiggling, and then I was like, Aveline, don't like just enjoy it, just enjoy it. And I love dancing. My neighbour actually is one of the judges on Australia's reality TV show, Dancing with the Stars, and yeah, so I get to hear a little bit about all the things that go on there, and his dancing pursuits and the partners and the different dancers, and he's been threatening me for a little while to organise a local sort of dance scene, salsa or something, and I'm all for it. I'm up for that. So, so that's exciting. And yeah.
I was going to say, when I was teaching, I've always only ever taught beginners. So generally, I love teaching people. It's the first time they're dancing, and everyone's so nervous and so scared to just make a mistake. And I say, look, if you've come in walking and you can walk, you can dance. I don't need it to be to the rhythm of anything. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need you to enjoy it and go with it. And if you can walk, it's literally the same thing. It's one step in front of another. I'm never going to ask you to use the same foot twice. So just go with it. And people have so much fun when they first start.
You'd be a great teacher. I can see that already. You can teach me. How's that?
Yeah, let's do it. When we see each other in a couple of months, we'll be doing that.
So you mentioned being a global citizen. You've got an Australian accent, really. I mean, for those that are listening, they're like, hang on, she's not British. So you spent a lot of time in Australia growing up. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was born in Australia. And when I was 3-4 years old, a little bit older, I had my little sister, and my parents decided that they wanted us to grow up in Europe. So they packed up their bags. They'd been there for 35 years. So we're not talking about a small little packed up their stuff and flew us to Europe so that we would be able to grow up in Europe with family and friends, and I guess having access to the European culture. So all my schooling was done in Europe, in Spain. And I'm so grateful to my parents for that. That was just a beautiful experience of still being able to speak English, still being able to have ties to Australia with, family still here, but, and being born an Aussie. So I was always, the baby koala or the baby kangaroo, whatever you wanted to say when I was here. And then, growing up in Europe. But as soon as I turned 15, I actually went and did some training in Australia, went and did some, exchange students type scenario in Australia, came back here. And then ever since then, I was always back and forth, but I did do then another 20-year stint back in Australia when I started my degrees, and the start of my career and all of that was in Australia. So I am torn between the two. I feel very, very Australian at heart, but at the same time, it's that Spanish blood is always pulling you back to Europe. So yeah.
That's fabulous. So can you tell us a little bit about the journey? I mean, you've started to talk about the journey, I guess. Already we're getting a picture that, Australia, Spain, Europe. Tell me about what's brought you to the place that you are today. What's made you and brought you to working in this business where you're helping business owners to fall in love with their business and become business owners?
It's an interesting one. Obviously, often you'll find me doing these things with my business partner. We'll do it together, and we'd often start with Angela's journey because she's really the one that got into business first. I watched her from afar. But my journey was quite interesting. I obviously traveled around the world. I've lived in the US, I've lived in Asia, I've lived in Australia. And I've always been really comfortable with the uncomfortable. You know how people just are really scared to move. For me, not knowing what the next step is a bit exciting. It's a bit thrilling, and I'm scared. Don't get me wrong. Like, I will get on a balloon and I will be like, I can't believe I'm on this balloon, and I'll be hanging on to the edges going, I can't believe we're going up and I don't have control of this right now. But I do like to put myself in that position because I always know there is so much that comes from being on the edge of something or being scared of something. I've always found that it's such a thrilling ride. And so, it all happened during COVID. So during COVID, I was in a role that I knew was temporary. I went into that role a year and a half beforehand, saying to my boss, I'm coming in to help you because you need my help right now. He pulled the friendship card on me and said, I'm planning on obtaining a VP role, and I need a 2IC that is absolutely going to have my back, manage the team for me, really support me, because the corporate world, and for many of you that are either in that or have come out of that, you know how political it is and how backstabbing it can be. And so he said, I need someone in my corner to step up into this role. Otherwise, I just know it's never going to happen. And so I said, okay, well, I'm in the UK for a couple of years. I know I'm going to make money in the process, so I know it's going to be a win-win, but let's do it. I'll do it. And knowing I wasn't looking for a career, I stepped into that role thinking, let's just get some money, let's help my friend, let's make the most of this, let's have fun in the process. But at the same time, I wasn't looking for a career. So it was really interesting being in corporate at that point in time with that headspace. And then Ange opened up her business and I was shocked. She came back from sabbatical. I thought something had bitten her while she was in South America when she said she was going to open up a business. And I went, okay, this is not the person I thought that was ever going to say that to me, but okay, let's see where she goes and help her in any way I can. And she was loving it. She was still working the crazy long hours at the beginning of the business as you do, and she was when she was at Accenture. But there was a different smile on her face. There was a different energy. There was a different anything. And so anything I could do to help her, I was just like, what do you need? You know, how can I support you? Do you need support with business development, planning, you know, anything along those lines? And so when COVID hit, I said to my boss, can I have some time off? Because you are going to need to put someone on furlough at this point in time. My wage is equivalent to 2 or 3 staff members. They're going to be, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. This is going to really affect me mentally. They're just going to be in a different state as opposed to me. So let me go on furlough. It protects the team. I'll make sure that I do the whole, guys, I'm doing this. I'm stepping down. I'm going to do some play here. It doesn't mean that the business is not going to be strong. So I can have that conversation with the team. But at the same time, we're saving 2 team members from the agony of me being on leave. And so at first he's like, I can't do this without you. What are you talking about? And I said, look, I will dial in every week to the coffee chats and all of the things you might need me to do, but let me take some time off and I'll help Ange in the process. And they all know each other. So he's like, okay, fine. I think you've got a good argument there. I'll let you go on furlough. And so I decided helping Ange, and it wasn't anything expected. It was just this playing with mentoring the team. We had a junior team at that time, so giving them guidance, mentorship around what they want to do long term, engagement within the organization, understanding of how to speak to clients, and the outcome of wanting to serve clients in a better way. And I was talking to a friend of ours who was in business, and they said to me, you're doing such a great job at this, because I was playing with a few things, Ange and a few other people. And they said, you are such a natural entrepreneur. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's not me. I'm a corporate girl through and through, you know, give me the business class tickets to New York any day and the expense account of my Amex. Like, why would I take that away from myself and be an entrepreneur? And he said, you really have an issue with this word, don't you? And I said, no. I said, my friends are amazing entrepreneurs. And they're like, yeah, but you as a label, you really cannot see that label on you. That's just something that I can see in your face that you're just going, I'm not an entrepreneur. Like, that's everyone else around me. And he was right. It struck a nerve. And when that happens to me, when something like that strikes a nerve, I'm always like, where is this coming from? And why is this hitting such a piece of my identity that I'm just not prepared to accept? And obviously the word was not a problem, because I think Ange is an amazing entrepreneur, and I've got a friend who at the time, Marianne, was also an entrepreneur, and who I lovely put that label on with lots of love and lots of empathy. But for me, it was just like, that just is not the word that describes who I am. That's just an insult. And I thought long and hard about it, and I realized my parents were entrepreneurs, and they failed miserably at being entrepreneurs. And I saw them struggle, and I saw them work really hard and lose lots of money make lots of money, but really not have a consistency. It wasn't feast or famine. It wasn't that at all. It was just a struggle. It was an everyday struggle. And they did it, especially obviously by the time I was in the picture, was to put, clothes on us and a roof over my sister and my heads. And we were the pride and joy of our parents. But it wasn't easy. It was really never easy. And so that association with the word entrepreneur on me had that effect of, I will fail as an entrepreneur. This is something that will not go well. And I remember going, wait, hold on. I'm not my parents. I haven't had the same education as my parents. I may have always splurged money a lot more than I should have because I've always earned it and I've never had a problem. But I've reached a much higher career level than my parents ever had. And my mum did have a really good career, but, she never really earned the same amount of money I did. I think I've proven myself in hard situations and difficult situations moving around the world. I've always landed on my feet. Why am I so against this? And I went, you know what? That's it. I'm jumping. I'm doing the jump in and let's just see what happens. But, I will land on my feet. I just know I will land on my feet and I will do everything in my power to make it work. And I'm prepared to learn and I'm prepared to make mistakes and I'm prepared to take advice and listen. So scrap that mentality. Put your big girl pants on and just embrace that term and see what happens. I can always come back. It's not an issue. I've always had the option to come back. And I'm not scared of turning around and going, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something new. So I embraced that term and that changed everything. That's where I went, I actually really love this. I really enjoy working with Ange. I really can see what we can get out of it. Let's jump all in. Let's learn. Let's pick up the books. Let's read everything. Let's change the mindset. And I just could never go back to corporate after that. Just could never go back.
Wow. You are such a brave warrior, aren't you? For someone who, you look so young, and I'm not asking how old you are, but you've obviously done a lot already and you've spoken about being comfortable in the uncomfortable and being faced with this label of the entrepreneur. I would love to sort of delve into that a bit if I can. Was it your judgment or perception of what an entrepreneur meant, or was it more about you being afraid based on your parents' experience?
I don't think it was a label because like I said, with lots of love and care, I put that onto other people. I think it was watching my parents fail and knowing how similar I am to them in many ways, hard-headedness, ability to spend money, ability to travel, ability to be social. It was my similarities to my parents that I enjoy that scared me in relation to the failures that they had seen. And so I just thought other people could do it and I couldn't. And it wasn't because I couldn't, I think. It was because I just saw my parents fail at it that I just thought, well, that's going to happen to me. And I just always thought, because many people had said to me over the years, why don't you open up your own business? And my thought was like, why would I do that? I have a stable income. I go on holidays 4 or 5 times a year. I've traveled the world thanks to that. I've worked in some of the biggest organizations. I get points, I get all of this stuff, and I have a salary every day in and out. Even though I'd been made redundant once before, I just never thought it was difficult to get a job. And so therefore I was like, why would I want the headache of having to manage my income irregularly like they did? When I can have a regular income. And I was thinking, I wanted to be CEO of Amex at one point in time. I wasn't aiming low. And I knew if I really set my mind to it, I could have achieved maybe not that, because actually then I didn't want to be in Amex, but a big role. I'd been given a general manager role at the age of 24, 25, really early on. So I was like, I know I can do this. Why would I give up that stability when just there is so much out there and so much instability, like let my income be the stable thing. I didn't ever feel burnt out. I had a really good balance of life, of work. I was able to switch off. I was able to pursue, when I was dancing 20 hours a week whilst running a full-time job quite well and a social life. So I've always found that I've balanced myself well enough in the corporate world that I hadn't experienced burnout. I'd experienced many other things in the corporate world, but burnout wasn't one of them. So why would I give that up to be an entrepreneur and have instability, right? So that's what really initially pushed me off that edge. And I know I'm not the only person that thinks that sees us now as entrepreneurs. And yeah, we love what we do, but they just go, but I'm comfortable. And I was in that comfort zone. I was definitely in that comfort zone. That why would I break something that's not broken? Why would I take that jump? And that's what I struggled with, really.
Yeah. And how has it changed you as a person in terms of your motivations, your goals, your outlook, anything?
God, every way possible. I had to go back to Amex because I obviously was on furlough, and I wanted to ensure that when I left the team, I left them as prepared, as well as organized as I possibly could. But going back, and I was working full-time in Amex, full-time with Ange, so I was doing crazy 16, 17-hour days. I went back and my head was completely in a different place. I was dealing with politics, and I remember pulling up a team member of mine, a very senior team member. I was put on a what's it called? A secondment to manage the US team. And there were 75 people in the US, much more senior than I am, much more older than I am. And I was put in to try and bring them in line, get them to a culture that we really wanted to accept. And the passive aggressiveness and political bitchiness, sorry for the language, but there's just no other word to describe that, was killing me. And I remember going, you get paid really well. You are a team member of mine. I've been coming to support you and help you because there is a problem here within the team. If you want me out, fix it, and I'll gladly be out, and I'll work my normal hours, and I won't have to babysit you. Now, I'm here to help. I've made it very clear I'm here to help. From the moment you've met me, I've always been encouraging, supportive, helpful. I'm not here to monitor you. I'm really here to go, this is what we're doing in Europe. This is what we've done in APAC. This is why it works with us. The culture here in the US is not acceptable in terms of management, so therefore we need to change it. And I did that in the in the UK by introducing Simon Sinek, by introducing loving to coming to work, having a purpose, having a team environment. And so I did the same in the US. And I still got this passive aggressive behavior. And I was tired, wanted to throw my things out the window, my laptop. And I was thinking, if you were in my company, you would be out. There was just no way I'd accept that. And so my mindset, I realized at that point in time, had completely shifted. I couldn't think as an employee anymore. I couldn't deal with politics to hurt each other internally. And that's what was happening. It's like they were upset that I was there. And I knew they were upset that I was there. But I was there for a purpose and a reason to support them, to grow their team, to enhance their business. And I just kept on saying to them, we'll make it work. Put in place what we've said. Let's do it. If you don't like it, come up with a better idea. But don't come to me with a problem just to whinge and not have a solution in place. That's just not acceptable for someone who's been in business for 25, 35 years with the experience you have, the knowledge and the contacts you have. I know you have an answer, a solution here. What is it? Tell me, and let's implement it. You can take all the credit. I'm not looking to do this to, increase my career. I'm actually walking out the door as soon as this is done. So let's get this organized and done. But they just couldn't see it. And I just went, I no longer belong in this world. I no longer can handle that kind of environment where you're against me as your team member within the same company umbrella, within the same pay, in the sense of we get paid by the same company. If it was my client saying, I'm not happy with what you're delivering and that's our problem, or we're getting pushback from a client, you know what? I get it. I get that. But pushback from a team member, not acceptable in my world. It's just not. We're here to collaborate and work together. And so that's where I knew my mentality had completely shifted, and I couldn't go back to not being in my own business, or in a position where I pick and choose who I work with, who I work for, what I do. That liberty is just for me and non-negotiable anymore.
Does it help that you've had, a couple of decades of experience in the corporate world and reaching levels of personal achievement where you know already, your worth, that you've been able to succeed, you've achieved all these things, and then it's like you didn't have to tick those boxes anymore because they've been done?
Maybe. I don't know any different, so I don't know if that would be another way. I have to say, I don't consider myself the most intelligent person that I've ever come across, like far. I think the community we have in the 6-star business blows my mind. The clients I have on a regular basis, I'm like, you guys are super intelligent and super amazing at what you do, that they blow my mind constantly. And I think the difference for me being in business and being able to value what I do is partly because of Ange. I value so much her experience, her expertise, what she does. And because I value hers so highly, I position us as a company so highly. And I feel often like I'm tagging along, and Ange will always say to me, no, it's the combined experience that makes this work. And she goes, if you didn't encourage me, I wouldn't be where I'm at. But it's her also ability to encourage me and say, I can't do this without you. I think that works so well for us. I've never been someone that has not had what's it called? Confidence. That's definitely never been a problem of mine. And I think that actually comes from my family. I have to say, we've heard so many stories, as you know, over the years with the 6-star. And I am blessed, and I know that is a blessing, that no matter what happened with my family, even though my parents split up and we moved around and, all of these things that could have happened in another way, to happen the way they did, but I always knew that there was a security of love in my family, and it might have not always come from my parents because they were busy and distracted, but maybe from my extended family, my aunts, my uncles. There's a story that I often say to people to explain that is when you're 5 or 6 years old and you leave home for the first time and you go, I'm leaving, I can't do this, and you pack a bag with your Barbies and your teddy bear and whatnot, and maybe your toothbrush. And I remember taking my sister with me at that time, and I'm saying, we're leaving, when I don't know what we weren't getting, chocolate or something ridiculous. I don't remember the point. And my parents like, oh, we'll miss you. Okay, that's fine. Where are you going to go? And I just looked at my parents and I was like, what do you mean, where am I going to go? And they're like, well, if you don't live at home, where would you be? And I was like, do you know how many aunts and uncles I have? I have plenty of homes to choose from. And I was like, I just pick one day of the week, and whenever I get sick of that uncle and aunt, then I'll leave to the next. And so I remember going, like, what kind of question is that? Like, where am I going to go? Do you think I don't have a million places to be right now? And I was like, you've created this monster that is comfortable with my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my neighbors, that I always felt welcomed, and therefore I was always knew that there was a house that I would turn to. And I think that's probably what's allowed me to take steps, is that I know the base to come home to is there. And it might not be mum, it might not be dad, it might not be my own home, but there is someone that's going to open the doors for me and go, come on in. And so, and I'm not afraid to step back. I'm not afraid to step out and go, oh, that didn't work, because I know that then I can come back to something, and it doesn't have to be your typical mum and dad home, because I don't think I could go back to mum and dad, but I know I can walk into my aunt and uncle's house, any one of them. My dad had 13 brothers and sisters, and they'll be like, there'll be a warm plate of food and there'll be a bed. Now, how long that lasts, I don't know, but at least for one night, I'll be safe. And so I think that's allowed me to really take on really crazy steps at times and feel confident in what I do, is because there's always a step back. And I don't think turning around and coming home is actually a scary thing to do. It's actually a nice thing to come home to every so often.
Yeah, sometimes we do need to have that grounding and the validation and the metaphorical arms around us to feel the love and support. And by the sounds of it, you had yours everywhere throughout Europe and probably in Australia as well. So what a gift that life gave you in having that base support always there, so that you could, bounce high, go out, go into the unknown, and always feel like your ground was there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm very lucky to have had that and to have used it. And it's interesting because my sister had the same growing up as me, but she never felt the same way. She built her own home and her own stability, and she really created a cocoon. And I guess maybe that's the other thing. She's got hers, and I know that's another home that I can always tap into to go when things go a bit crazy. But yeah, so she's not the risk taker. She's the complete opposite to me. She likes, she's got a beautiful home and she's created a beautiful family in Australia. And for her, that's her grounding. And I think to a degree, my mum and my dad come to her for that grounding and that support, because she's created it. So we're very opposite. But at the same time, when she wants to go crazy adventure, she'll jump on my bandwagon. And when I want to come home, I'll come to her. A
perfect kind of, yin yang scenario in the two of you. I'm really fascinated to know, obviously your entrepreneurial journey is young, yet you've gone in it with all guns blazing, 2 feet, jumping high, going for it. What's the biggest learning that you've had since you took that leap of faith?
Not to do it alone. I knew I was going in not knowing a lot. I knew I was going in, and I think you're absolutely right. We're baby entrepreneurs, both Andrew and I. And I think we acknowledge that. We acknowledge our weaknesses. We acknowledge our areas that we still need to grow. I know we're going to hit a lot of roadblocks all the way through. And I think joining the 6-Star business was a really big movement for us and a big growth platform for us, because we were able to open up, be vulnerable, share where we were at different stages of our business and ask for help. And I think that's the big thing. I sometimes come across newbies that have just left the corporate world and they're like, oh, I've got this. And I'm like, no, you don't. I don't have it. We're 4 years in and running a profitable business. And I think that's the thing. The moment you can say, I'm not doing this alone, even if you're a solopreneur, you need to surround yourself with people who you can ask questions of, who are either in the same journey or above you in the journey. And you can go, okay, I suck at this. Where am I going wrong? And I think it's that being able to acknowledge where you need help, and correcting it and implementing it. And it's not about always implementing something new. Sometimes you have to stick to it and just make sure it works. But definitely being able to go, I admire what you do in this space. Show me, teach me, what have you done? And I think what we do really well is that we share everything we've learned. We're an open book. We don't hide anything. Our clients go to us, I can't believe how transparent you are with your business. And we've done the same with our team. We have an open book around what's in the bank accounts, what bills are coming out. We show them our P&L on a quarterly basis. We go, hey, we're making money. Hey, we're losing money. We're not afraid to tell and be showing where we're at in business. And because I think we're so open, people have gone, okay, let me now show you what we're doing, and here is what you can do. That makes it work. For me, it's a real big thing about a 6-Star business, is that you cannot do a 6-Star business on your own. A 6-Star business is a community of people working together. There is enough business out there in the world for all of us to have amazing businesses. And when a business fails, I believe it's because they didn't know when to ask for help. They didn't know when to come in and say, this wasn't working quite well, and therefore I didn't see it coming. Whether that be for a cybersecurity attack or financial changes or a tax bill or marketing not working, clients not understanding what you do, not aligning to their purpose, something that you do really well. It's all of that. It's not being able to ask for help because we just cannot do business alone. When we're not meant to do business alone. You know, we are a community of people, whether you're in business or whether you're a client of a business. It's all a community. It's all an ecosystem. It just doesn't happen on its own. The trees don't have leaves without the water and the sun. How can we run a business on our own? Like, it just fathoms me when people want to do this alone or want to isolate themselves, because we're not on the moon. We're on Earth. So we need to make sure that we're part of an ecosystem, and business is an ecosystem of clients, suppliers, collaborators, everything. And there is enough money in this world for all of us to have really successful businesses. But you need to know when to ask for help, and you need to know when to take it, run with it, and maybe sometimes blindly follow somebody just to see where that goes.
It's so fascinating hearing your fresh perspective on this, because I've been in business for a number of years, and one thing that I've seen over the whole time is, I guess, this entrenched societal view of this competitiveness. And I've seen it in different industries. I've seen it in peers of mine, colleagues of mine. And you're talking about how we can't do business alone. And I'm thinking about one of the industry groups I belong to, and I've known some of these people for many, many, many years. Do you think they want to work together? No. And there is this level of competitiveness. And I feel like it's an outdated way of viewing the world, of viewing business, of doing business. And you've just stepped in, you know, through the pandemic. You've got fresh eyes. You've got all this energy and the confidence. And you're just like, guys, that's a terrible idea of doing it this way. Let's do it together, and let's be transparent, and let's learn from each other, and let's all succeed. Like, you know, it's doing things differently, and that's what Six Star is all about. Mm. And so tell me, how has that changed your results? How has that changed the energy in the relationships with your customers by doing it differently?
Oh, God. So many ways. We always learn from our clients. That's one big thing. You know, we try and take their expertise on board. We have so much care and passion behind the people we've chosen to work with that any expertise that they've got, we try and to find a way to weave it into our business. And that's come from managing our bank accounts, managing our systems, managing our security. There's still so much for us to learn. I think that we're still embedding into every piece of our business. But that openness and that being able to share, I think a lot of people talk about this loneliness of business, right? It's so lonely to be in business. And I'm lucky enough haven't found that because I've had Ange all the way. But at the same time, even when it's just been us two and we've come across a problem, the first thing I always say to her is like, okay, who can help us? Who can we share this with? And I remember Ange at first was quite reluctant to share certain things. She goes, oh, but they'll look at us and they'll look like, you're complete idiots. I'm like, but we are. We have no idea what we're doing here. So let's just ask. And I think they appreciate us enough, and we can give something back. I think that's the thing, is that even when you ask for something, there's always something you're going to be able to give back. And the moment you ask for something, and people are then more likely to then accept your own support. And you've seen it. You've seen this in business for many years. You see some people make some silly mistakes and you're like, really? Why did you do that? But if you've asked for help from them, you know how much more likely they are to ask for your support back or take something back, because they know you kind of owe them at that point in time. And so therefore, I don't mind owing first. That's not a problem. I think, I've always got an open door policy to afterwards come and ask for whatever you need. That's always going to be there. So it's really changed our finances and our thinking. And there's a million names running through my head right now about all the people we've asked for help, and they've given us nuggets of gold that at times we can't implement now, but we know that's a blocking stone we're going to hit in the future. You know, we know once we hit the 100,000 a month, our mindset needs to change. We're going to hit a different type of brick wall, like Alan says, or Steve. And, you know, all of these things, we know that there's these things that are going to come across, but we also know that there's a beautiful group of people around us that are there to encourage us and support us. And therefore, I think it's really changed that. It's this for me, it's definitely that ecosystem of business. It's just, there is so much out there. And I don't believe in competition, you know, even if you think of competition as a good thing, and it's not a bad thing, there is enough room and enough flavors and enough essence of all of us individually to really have support anyone in any way. Even if you're thinking of running a race wouldn't happen with one player. That's just a run. A race needs 2, 3, 4 competitors to be a race. And if you're at the front of that race, you're like, great. But you feel empowered because there's people behind you. And if you're behind someone, you feel more empowered because you're like, wait, I'm going to try and beat them. That's what makes it work. That energy needs to be there. It's not about not having competition. It's about having that energy around you to continue to push you to be better every single time.
I so love that as a metaphor. And I'm wondering if you can take it to the next level of that collective energy of momentum, of everybody who is striving to be better. If you take that to business, you take it to your business. You and Ange and your team are striving to be better. And let's say you've got a bunch of competitors in the UK that are kind of similar to you. Could that momentum, that collective momentum, actually be generated or aimed at the people you're serving? So it's not actually about how much money am I going to make, but it's actually how effective, how meaningful, how successful can we make our customers? Yeah. And imagine if that collective energy was aimed in that direction rather than at your bank account.
Oh, like imagine that. Like it's just so the case that I find that's going to happen. Like if we really started to think that way, you know, we're here to help businesses, and we've particularly chosen to limit our services and put a start and stop to our services to ensure that there is collaboration, to ensure that people have to work with one another. We don't want to deliver all services, even if we could, because that's not the purpose of being in business. It's to be a part of a chain, be a really strong link in a long set of links. On my honeymoon recently in Mexico, I watched them make natural rope. Now, I don't know if you know where rope comes from. I've just discovered this. So rope comes from a natural rope, comes from an agave plant, not the same plant, but the same family of plant that makes tequila, blessed tequila, makes this, it's like an aloe vera plant, right? And so they basically get this plant, squish the plant, pull the fibers, and we're talking about fibers that are as thin as my hair, right? This thin fiber. And then they get this fiber and it looks like the hair of a pony, you know, the tail of a pony. And they brush it out, they dry it, they brush it out, they brush it out, they brush it out, they brush it out, and they get all rid of all of the weak hair. And the thick hair, they just then let it go through a threading machine where it just winds one to another. And that creates this thin rope that's super strong, that lasts 70 years, that decomposes in the earth eventually once you're done with it. But it started off all with really thin fibers. Now, it's one rope, then you create another rope, and then you entwine the second rope, and then you entwine maybe 50 ropes. And these are the same ropes that there was, okay, maybe not, the Titanic is not the best example because it sunk, but one of the reasons the Titanic apparently didn't save as many people is because they actually had this rope on the Titanic and they were not able to cut the rope to release the boats to go into the water. That's how strong this rope is. And it all started with a little fiber, a little thin fiber that came from a plant. This one little thin strand entwined with 50 others, entwined again with another 23, 24, 25 ropes to create this really strong environment. And that's what makes it different. You just have to be that thin rope that entangles yourself with another 2 or 3 ropes that creates a really strong stability. And that's what it is. It's not about being able to do everything for your client. It's to do 1 or 2 things that you love to do really well, that adds value to that person, to that business, to that environment. And that makes all the difference. It's like picking up a piece of rubbish on the floor. It's not going to make a difference to any one person, but it's made a difference in that moment, and that's helped the longevity for God knows how long, or for the animals passing through, whatever it might be. It's those small little acts in combination with other acts of other people that make a difference.
Wow, that's wonderful. I love the way you've used the rope analogy. I had no idea that's how rope was made, and from the tequila plant, effectively. Thank you, tequila. So what I'm taking away, like there's this little seed of these words now, Cristina. Be like the rope. Be part of the rope. Okay, let's be the rope. I love it. You've mentioned a few times already this word purpose, and I'm all about purpose, and I'd love to know how purpose has played a part in your life, even back through your corporate years. And was it a thing then? Was it relevant for you? Have you followed a purpose? Have you sought out a personal purpose? Talk to me about that, because I'm really keen to know.
Absolutely. Are you sure you want to go to the hour? This is going to go on for quite some time otherwise.
Okay. See how you go.
Yeah. So I started my selling. That's how I started, doing my career as a kid, was selling. I think Ange talks about me selling makeup from Avon when we were teenagers in high school. And it was because I was using it. So I was like, hey, do you guys want to get access to the latest perfume or lipstick or, whatever it was at that point in time, mascara. And I really enjoyed it. I've never really seen that as a difficult thing to do. And again, partly confidence, part I don't know what it might be. And when I saw people struggled with the concept, and that was whether I was working with doctors or working with accountants or with the lawyers, I started doing these training sessions to help people be more comfortable with the process of selling. And I started with Simon Sinek. I started with the why. Why have you chosen this particular job? Why have you particularly chosen this particular employer? I did this really well with Maurice Blackburn. For those of you guys in Australia, you would know Maurice Blackburn really well. And I loved working for that company, still have beautiful fond memories of working for that company. And it's a law firm, it's not something you'd normally pick to go to. The people working there went there because they wanted social justice. They had chosen to be lawyers and make money in the process of being a lawyer, but they chose to do it to really support the underdog, to really be the battler. And I was like, don't be ashamed of being a lawyer when you're doing this for the right reason. So I remember doing a training session with them about, starting with the why, getting them to pitch, because lawyers hate saying they're a lawyer at a barbecue. And I know that they were really, like me with the word entrepreneur, they really struggled with the concept of that label that they had. They hated saying they were a lawyer in social settings. And I said, how do we change that? How do we change that so you can explain what you do, why you've chosen the company you've come to work for, and show that love and that passion the same way you talk about spaghetti bolognese or chicken salt. It's that same love that you've got. You've chosen to come here every day. You could actually go work anywhere else. You could be a barista. You could do anything, but you've chosen to do this. Why have you chosen to do this? There is something behind there. Now let's bring that out. Let's talk about that. And I think that's what has led me to always ensure that I know I choose what I do every hour of the day. I choose what food goes into my mouth. So make that choice, knowing that you've chosen that. Make it purposeful. Make it sure that you're not hiding away from that kind of choice, whatever it is that you do. And especially when it comes to a job, it's 40 hours a week. It's no small feat that we've chosen to do. we choose to work back often, and we choose to finish a particular task because we choose to. You're on a podcast now. You've got your beautiful son behind you, but you've chosen to still do this and do this with me today. And so therefore enjoy the process. Make sure you're loving that process. And I think that's why businesses can absolutely work and we can absolutely collaborate together, because if we're all doing it from a place that we know actively we've chosen to do it, and there is an alternative, because there always is an alternative, then let's do it well and let's do it together.
Thank you. That's, again, going at it with gusto, intention, accountability, owning yourself, owning the journey. These are all the things that come to mind when I think of you and everything that you've shared with me so far tonight. A couple more questions before we finish up, Cristina. The first one is, looking back on your journey all the way to probably high school, and yeah, I'm talking business and work, but it could be just everything. What's been one of your biggest challenges, and what's been one of your biggest learnings from the whole journey?
I think my strong personality has been a big challenge. Not everyone is comfortable with that, and not everyone is comfortable with having a big personality, whether that be a boss that's threatened, or a staff member that doesn't know when to step up, or even a close friend that just goes, I feel like you're overtaking me. You might not have that intention at any point in time. I definitely don't. But it doesn't mean that my personality hasn't overwhelmed or overtaken. And so I wouldn't say it's about reining in at times, because it's nothing I really can do. It's not going to happen. But I think it's communicating that, being open, being vulnerable, showing that yes, that is who I am. But there is also other parts of it, that there is a soft side, there is a hard side, there is a dictator side, there's a strong side to that. But that's always done with love and care, right? And I think that, being able to showcase that and being able to say, hey, I'm open to feedback. I'm open to hearing what you have to say. And I want to make room for you. You need to make room for you with me, in the sense that I'm making that room, but you now need to step up when I make that room. So that's been a challenge and a blessing at times. And learning to be myself, to not be afraid of sharing who I am, to learning to always learn. I think I remember one of the challenges I had is that, being the personality I have, the extrovert that I am, certain things came easy. But the time of reflection, time to understand numbers, to sit down, to delve into detail, hasn't always come easy. And learning to love that, learning to understand the meaning behind what that gives you, and that being able to now embrace numbers, embrace data, embrace quiet time, embrace meeting-free days, that has enabled me to really grow in certain aspects and understand certain other aspects. And I think that's the thing. I'm, how my passion at the end of the day is about learning, is about that constant learning. I want to make sure I'm learning till the day I die, and therefore embracing that I don't know everything, embracing that I am going to make mistakes, embracing that there is a chance for me to learn something new every day has been, I think, the biggest thing, is being able to go, it's never too late to start something. It's never too late to start yoga. It's never too late to start journaling. It's never too late to go for a walk. I think that's another big learning. And the big learning is to always learn and to always to take on that new experience.
Very, very wise. And I just want to add to that, when I was at university as a 22-year-old, I think, there was a guy in my business course, and he would have been about 70, and he was doing his commerce degree. And it was a really strong, statement to this room of young, egotistical, kids, really. And here he was, and he turned up and he did his work, and he was absolutely delightful. And he was there because he wanted to be there. And it's just stood the test of time for me as a memory, and that guy and his example. And he continued to learn. He didn't care about his age. And that's who I see you as someone who's always learning, and you're just so open to what comes. And it's really inspirational, Cristina.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure getting to know you through the Six Star Business and the community. And I love seeing what you and Ange are doing with Grow Your Brand with Impact. I encourage anybody who's listening who want to reach out and connect with Cristina. She loves meeting new people. So you could probably tell that. So please reach out to her on LinkedIn or by the website. That your contact details will be on the page. So is there any little gold nugget or anything you want to leave our listeners with, Cristina, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it's just that embrace connectivity, embrace people around you. And it doesn't matter if it's your neighbor or the person that's walking the dog next to you or a potential business partner or even a competitor, embrace that connection, because something wonderful always comes from those things.
Couldn't agree more. It has been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to meeting you in person very soon when you come out to Australia. And have a wonderful day in London. It's London, isn't it, right now?
London today. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.